guys, welcome to today's video. Today's video, we'll look into scenario, continue our What If the World Went Wrong series with a big event happening. A few nations are brought into the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. This includes Morocco, as it starts to change its name to the World Defense Pact. But as you can see, one big problem. They're trying to stop the expansion of the Russia League, which is basically an imperial league. So they decide to. Ireland and Switzerland stay neutral, obviously, with all the nations within the Rio Pact voting to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. This doesn't mean they're necessarily stronger, but tensions start breaking out in East Africa. As according to East Africa, there is an attack according to Mesopotamia, or whatever I've called it, this nation says Egypt attacked them, and they call their nation in. All their allies decide in after they declare war on Egypt quickly. The full alliance is brought into the war, with Russia declaring a unified state of attack. And this unified attack has forces from everywhere. But before the attack begins, united together, the East Africa Pact fights back for their survival. Can they really repel attacks? Can they? With an alert being activated within the country, with Egypt knowing its capital is not far from the border, with them trying to hold the troops centering back to slow advances, with them getting behind the capital, headed behind, creating a spearhead, with the idea of getting behind Cairo and Alexandria to create this attack. With Cairo falling, and Alexandria holds back for a few days. But with this major attack, the allies against them, which Mesopotamia and its allies in the Middle East, decide to open this front up, with them headed towards the river, headed down the Nile and the coast. Try to get a surrender out of them. But with East Africa's troops arriving, a major counteroffensive is made, pushing Mesopotamia back, which basically was a nation created by the last war. But seeing this failure in the north, not failure, but major counteroffensive, and seeing troops are flooding to the north, a landing in Djibouti happens because the strait is so small beneath the Gulf, north of the Gulf of Aden and south of the Red Sea. What's that area called? The Strait of Bab el-Man or something. Within days, Djibouti has fallen, and they're moving into Somaliland. And they're also moving into Ethiopia at record speeds. But Ethiopia manages to launch a counteroffensive in the north, pushing them back. In the south, Somaliland makes a counteroffensive along with Ethiopia, but they still manage to hold on to the area. With this buying time for a breakthrough in the Egyptian front down the coast, a breakthrough has happened, with them advancing fast, and then they develop a defensive line as they move and try to cut off the river supply, and them advancing even further. When they get to here, they are stopped. But Egypt surrenders. But not really, because these lands are quickly pushed back because they can get there before the occupation forces. But as this was going on, they had to move troops from here, which led to a breakthrough in the south. into Somaliland with extra forces landing there, and with them being fully pushed out. Not Somalia and Ethiopia make a bit of an offensive, but with Sudan being pretty weak as it's falling apart basically, with the pro-Russian rebels breaking out in the east. We will put them this color just because they're pro-red team rebels. With them moving in and connecting with the forces going down the river, these rebels in this encirclement in the desert quickly surrenders with no food or resources. With the capture of Khartoum happening, and I think that's way north of Khartoum, this side is in deep trouble. With Sudan being taken over and the new government declares war on the rest of the forces. And this is a surprise that they managed to have so much success. With the rebels deciding as Mesopotamian forces are arriving to take over Central African Republic, and they also started to move into Eritrea's area. And they managed to cut Ethiopia from most of the coast off. With another pact getting entertained by the idea of joining South Africa's pact, as you can see. And they decide to bring Angola in because they have no better outcome for starting their invasion. But still, they're more Western aligned than Eastern aligned. But let's say they do this just to do a land grab. This land grab is due to its greed and this world going wrong. So everybody's like fighting each other. With Tanzania having very little forces left in its country, it's almost fully taken over. With the resource-rich area of the Congo being taken over within days. Well, probably weeks, maybe even months. With them deciding to go up the coast of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which isn't actually democratic, which is kind of funny. Wait, is it democratic? I think it's not really. Them do that good on democracy scores. With a breakthrough in Ethiopia having happened, which manages to get the forces down to Kenya. And well, Somalia's forces basically end up surrendering pretty quick. And region authorities do too. With a quick offensive happening as Russian troops have arrived, and Chinese and Mongolian. With Ethiopia being forced into capitulation, and with them meeting up with the South African forces. With them trying to get as much land as they can out of it, so that, well, it doesn't fall to hands they don't want it in. Which is how they draw a treaty. They managed to keep them out of most of the land, but not all. So let's see the treaty. Through aggressive tactics, Russia has managed to take over Africa. Parts of Africa. But as you can see, we're in this map mode. Why? Because a few of the winning nations from the last war decide this is very dangerous of a situation they're in at this point. So countries like Algeria, West Libya, and, well, these nations join that pact. This nation joins this, and that. Seeing a war with the Pacific Treaty Organization as extremely likely, NATO decides to offer them protection. And they all join NATO because they have nothing better to do. So NATO has changed its name and rebranded itself to the World Safety Organization or Treaty. Wait, no, those islands didn't join them. Those islands stayed neutral. I hope they did, at least. I don't know why they would join a war. They have nothing to offer. With the world, ECOWAS and South Africa's pact and the World Treaty Organization are on good ties. They're pretty much doing what they want. And while the Russian organization, despite looking weak, Russia's military has 4 million men at this point. China, same thing. Mongolia is a lot less because they have nobody in their country. But anyways, Mesopotamia is a few million. And just let you know, the map of the alliances is inaccurate. The real map from after the war is this. As you can see, Sudan enlarged. Egypt stayed the same. Ethiopia might be bigger. And then I united what they got from the DRC, the Dr. Congo, and what they got from East Africa on the one. They had Tanzania and southern South Africa. As you can see, I only drawn that line. But as you can see, there's a lot more lines I need to get rid of. And a lot more lines I need to fix. But for now, that's pretty much all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Wild Mapper out, but not until you subscribe. Bye, guys!